Okay, so hi everybody. This is Dr. Uzi Chen here, and I wanted to further your ability to study the points location by taking a quick video about the small intestine channel points. There are three sections we're going to be covering. We'll start with the one on the upper extremity, on the medial, or I would say ulnar side of the forearm. And then we're going to talk about the posterior shoulder and then the side of the neck and the cheek. Okay, small intestine channel points location. We're going to start with small intestine 1. So as you can see, the pinky finger, okay, or the fifth digit, the same terminology. We're looking at the cuticle. The radial side is the side that is more closer to the radius bone, okay? Whereas the ulnar side of the cuticle would be more the side that's close to the ulnar bone, okay? With the small intestine channel, it is going along the ulnar side of the arm. So small intestine 1 is going to be on the ulnar side of the cuticle right here. In fact, I'm going to use this little washable crayon to put a dot. You can argue it's about 0.1 tun from the corner of the nail if we were to have two lines that are creating like a 90-degree angle. That would be where those two lines meet, okay? Small intestine 1. When we talk about small intestine 2 and 3 for that matter, we have to consider that where the digit connects to the palmar aspect of the arm, the palm itself is comprised of 4 metacarpal bones. We have the first one, or the fifth one, I would say, the fourth one, the third one, the second one, and the first being the thumb. When we talk about the metacarpal attachment, joining with the phalanges, we call that the metacarpal phalangeal joint. And this is basically your fifth knuckle, okay? This is important because when we look into the blade of the hand, we have what is known as the metacarpal phalangeal joint. And then distal to it, which is further away from the body, this is where we're going to be locating small intestine 2. And proximal to it, we're going to be locating small intestine 3. Small intestine 2 would be where I'm going to be putting that small dot right there. So we're going to be able to follow the bone until we hit the aspect where it becomes more pronouncedly the joint itself. And then just between the white and the red, as we say, that's going to be small intestine 2. Now, small intestine 3 would be where we're going to take the same joint and then go proximally towards the heart, if you will. And then where we find a big divot, that's going to be small intestine 3. Another way to locate that, if we can look here, is by making a loose fist, if you will. That line that I can show here would basically lead us all the way to small intestine 3. So that is the same location right there. I'm going to make a dot. Small intestine 3, which is an important point as it is a master and a confluent point for the dumai, or the governing vessel. Okay. Now, as we keep on our journey through the blade of the hand, small intestine 4 would be by going proximally along the edge of the fifth metacarpal bone. So I can show you right there. It actually literally ends here and there, and then we want to make sure we go one more to the bigger divot, if you will, between the proximal head of that metacarpal and then the triquetral bone of the carpal wrist, okay? That divot is actually small intestine 4. Let me put a note mark right there, small intestine 4. It's a little sensitive usually. And then to differentiate it further, small intestine 5 would be very close, but a little bit right there. How do I get there? I'm going to take the what is known as the styloid process of the ulna. Let's actually put it like so. So the ulnar bone that comes here, we can find that styloid process. This is that little bump that you can see from the side right there. Okay. As we go distal to that, we're going to fall into a little divot right there. Now, where my fingernail lies, just a little bit more distal to that, we're going to find another bone. That's the same triquetral bone that I mentioned earlier. So small intestine 5 is going to be just between the distal styloid and that triquetral bone right there. And we're going to make a small note right there. So you can see the relationship with small intestine 4. and then small intestine 3 along the what we call the blade of the hand. Okay, I'd like to conclude with small intestine 6. Small intestine 6 is actually not conclude, but to find small intestine 6, we have to understand that it is only located or palpable when we put the patient in that position. Okay, so that position is known as a pronated arm versus a supinated arm. Okay, so we're going to start by actually having the arm in sort of like a supinated position, but I want you to see. And then we're going to locate the prominence of that styloid process, put a finger there, and then slowly get the arm to pronate. As soon as it pronates, we're going to expose a cleft. That cleft is sitting just on top of the styloid process, and that is actually small intestine 6. Let me actually put another dot there. It's important that we recognize that if we were to try to keep it in a supinated position, we won't be there. We have to make sure that the arm is rested, and then just at the cleft on top of the styloid process, this is where small intestine 6 is. We have 2 more points in order to conclude that region of the small intestine. Small intestine 7 is defined as, if this is the wrist, 5 tun proximal to that. But in order to be just more accurate, let's look into small intestine 8, which is sitting right here. It's a little bit tricky here. We have 2 bumps here on the elbow region. The medial epicondyle belongs, this is the more pronounced one. This one is belonging to the humerus bone. Okay? And then the one behind it, more posterior, is the olecranon, which is the proximal end of the ulnar bone. Right between those 2 prominences, if you will, there's a valley with the ulnar nerve. This is where the ulnar nerve is actually situated. This is also the funny bone area. So if you had the pleasure of getting hit there and having your whole entire hand falls asleep, that's why. The small intestine 8 is going to be right there. We were not talking about needling aspects, but we want to be able to propagate some sensation as we're going toward the area without zinging the nerve. Why am I talking about small intestine 8? Because small intestine 5 and 8 are actually creating a line that we call the small intestine line, right? That is the line. Now, what I wasn't able to do on the class that I would like to show you here is how to take these measurements that we define as 12 tun, right? Let's actually put a point here so people can see it better. Right there is our small intestine 8, okay? And then we take that and that. If that's 12, exactly half, notice the finger on top of another finger, right? And I'm just off the edge of the ulnar bone, right? This is basically the same line. So this is 6 and 6. So if we know we're looking for the 5th measure, we can take that measurement of 6, divide it in half, we got 3 and 3, and then this is 4.5, move a little bit more, which is about 1 tun proximal or distal, so to where we were. Now that point is located between the flesh of the flexor carpi ulnaris muscle and the edge of the ulna, right there. That's our small intestine 7, which is also a luau connecting point that we discussed earlier. So let me just put a quick dot here and we'll conclude the first part of the small intestine channel. I hope it's helpful. I know it's not perfect, but it should sort of like align to some degree. Of course, the skin moves as we move around the hand, as we pronate and supinate the arm, but it just, for the most part, give you the sense of what's going on. I hope it was beneficial. We'll move into the posterior shoulder part in another video. Thank you.